Welcome to the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver, brought to you by Arlo Revolution. Each week, Aaron connects melodies and memories with fans and artists from all genres of life. When all else in life is gone, only music will be left to leave the legacy of life's adventures. Please welcome your host for the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast, Aaron Shriver.
Good future, you never did think that we'd ever get together again. We're damn sure Fuji, we're walking real proud and we're talking real loud again.
All right, there we are. I had to get these buttons right eventually. How you guys doing tonight? I had to give a little shout out to Mr. Daniels tonight. This is our 7-7 Jack Daniels episode, but tonight I did want to give a quick shout out before I jumped into the show to not even a shout out, but just the whole career of what was Charlie Daniels, a living legend, did pass away yesterday. And it was one of these ones that came as a shock to a lot of us because we weren't prepped for it. Definitely not for Charlie Daniels, but want to send my thoughts and prayers out to his family tonight. But I wanted to give a quick little mention on the show tonight, starting off. But welcome, guys, and I am very excited for tonight because, like I said, it is 7-7. We are going to have a great night tonight. I wanted to do something Jack Daniels themed tonight when I was putting together all my shows. So I started reaching out, and I think I got a really great guest, and I cannot wait to bring him on because I was kind of listening to a couple of his other shows he's done, and it has a really interesting story about how he started his own brand. And now he is the U.S. brand ambassador with Jack Daniels, so I cannot wait to bring him on. But welcome to episode 41, the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast, a place where we connect melodies and memories with both fans, artists, and some of the most interesting people in and around the music community. I'm your host, Aaron Shriver. Tonight, we are presented by our good friends, as you saw the video at the top of the show, Arlo Revolution, cinematic wedding films, music videos, and promos. Find them on Facebook and at arlorevolution.com, as well as our on-screen sponsors, as you can see right there in front of you. First off, Art on a Higher Wire by Joel, original custom artwork inspired by your life moments, treasured by photos and memories. And then Janet Stolth Creative, online marketing services guaranteed to make companies be found and succeed on the web. Find both of them on Facebook. And last but certainly not least, my good friend over at the Corey Oliphant and the Original Church Choir. Thank you guys once again, and each of them for backing us up and your continued support. If you are tuning in for the first time tonight, maybe live or listening back streaming, if you can, go ahead and hit the share button tonight or leave us a quick 5-star review. Just different ways you could help to support the show if you cannot help us via our Patreon, which our Patreon is our bloodline of the show. So if you can definitely help us out, go check it out. I'll share the link. And tonight, I actually get to draw the winner really quick of our June contest. So let me go ahead and put that link in. So I will announce our July contest right after this. I'm going to try to hurry so we get our guest on tonight and get that announced for you guys that is in the group. But here we go. Put that in the chat. Let me grab my bowl real quick. Let's see. So this month, since we were going to have the guys from Whiskey Riff on, we were going to do a $30 Whiskey Riff gift card and a $25 Eric Church Chief merch gift card, as well as a signed book by Jeremy Spillman, The Divine Devils. So our winner is Jeremy Cole. I don't know if you can see that, but Jeremy Cole, I will reach out to you, buddy. We'll get your address and get that book sent out to you, and I'll get both of those gift cards sent out. But once again, Jeremy Cole, congrats, man. And for July, we're going to do another gift card bunch. If you don't like these gift cards, let me know. Challenge me. I can get some more better prizes. But we're going to do, let me make that bigger again so I can see it. A $25 Jack Daniels gift card, as well as a $25 Chief merch gift card. And once again, Carrie is saying read that book, and as well as another autographed copy of The Divine Devils by Jeremy Spillman. Hey, Jeremy Cole's watching tonight, man. Congrats, dude. Thanks again, man. Thanks for all the support. I really appreciate that. But our July is a $25 gift certificate that you can use at jackdaniels.com in their store, as well as a $25 Chief merch, and then a Divine Devils autographed copy. So go ahead, check out our Patreon. I updated a lot of the tiers. It's really cool over there now. New merch tiers, or new merch is going to be coming out. So you got to check all that out. Just tons of amazing stuff over there. So if you guys have not looked at our Patreon, it'd be awesome. Just kind of keep the shares and the support and all that good stuff going. So I appreciate that. We've grown this show in 41 episodes, and this July is going to be pretty hot. I mean, this show tonight's going to be awesome. Next week, I got a good buddy, Jordan Fletcher, coming on. So we got a lot of good stuff. Let's see. I did the June, July. Man, I'm flying through. You can tell I want to get the guest on tonight. But I do have to, every week I do bring on a new song. And it's this week, since I wasn't live last week, took the week off for my birthday, went up to Michigan for a couple days. But I do want to play our quick clip of something that came out this week or last week. Yes, so we did get a new single by Eric Church, and this is the second song that Eric Church has released that he hasn't wrote or written, or however you say that, because I mean, my English is never proper grammar, whatever. Jeffrey Steele wrote this song 5 years ago, before any of 2020 was ever imaginable. So for this type of song to come out at this time, I think it really puts a nail on the head. It's another controversial song in the country music world because the song is not country, it's more rock than anything. But then again, it is Eric Church. You never know where he's going to go next or what he's going to do next. So definitely huge shout out to that song. It's amazing way to kick off this new album that's going to be dropping pretty soon. I hope. Keep my fingers crossed. So, but tonight, guys, we got a very, very cool guest tonight. So like I said, I wanted to do a Jack Daniel's theme episode, and I started really just kind of researching, digging who could I bring on that would really kind of highlight Jack Daniel's and just kind of highlight everything around it. And then I kind of just started digging into this guy a little bit more and kind of found out how he did a lot of stuff grassroots. And as you guys all know, this show kind of stemmed from Eric Church's church choir, which that was all grassroots, the way his career took off. So I really like the way in seeing how young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general kind of get their brand starting off. And this guy did some really cool stuff. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on. But if you guys please welcome Eric E.T. And I'm going to probably Tecosky. I always mess up everybody's last name. But we're going to bring him on now. Oh, today is Squire Day, they said. That's funny. What's up, buddy? I'm going to call you ET from now on because I'm bad with last names.
Perfect.
How you doing today, man?
Good, man. Good to be on. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. So it's still early. You're out in California, right? Well, kind of early.
Yeah, Los Angeles. Oh, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock? That's not too bad. So tell me, man, we're just going to dive into it with Jack Daniels. Today is Squire Day, 7/7. People are saying in the chat. I saw that. So welcome on Squire Day. How did you originally get involved with Jack Daniels, man?
I mean, originally, I got to go probably back to my parents. At the time, neither drank Jack Daniels, but they were both really into music.
Yeah.
My father, all Sinatra all the time. And every time he got in his car, he would put on the same tape of Sinatra. It was a live compilation and, listen. And my mom basically, fed me rock and roll in utero. And, as I got older, I realized both those worlds met at Jack Daniel's. That's probably what kind of got me there, right? Like seeing rock and roll, seeing Sinatra, seeing that, where the brand was associated with. It was places I kind of dug. So I gravitated towards it. And then obviously, as you keep getting older, you make your own decisions. And I really just dug the whiskey and it just kept me there. And I come from the bar world. I bartended and ran bars. I owned a nightclub for 2 decades. And the last job I had was a very big Jack account in terms of there was just a lot of Jack stuff in the bar and a lot of Jack people would come in there. And when the master distillers would come in town, they would visit. So everyone at Jack locally knew how much I loved the brand. And eventually an opportunity came up to host a dinner, and then that turned into another opportunity. And before you knew it, I had a job at Jack Daniel's.
You just kept on going one by one. Now, before you worked there, did you ever go to Lynchburg at all?
Yeah. So my mom, she used to have this fun little game where, I live in LA, my parents lived in Philly, my sister lived in the suburbs of Philly. And, it's almost seemed like my mom would throw a dartboard at the country and then we would meet there. And one time it was Nashville. So we had gone and met, and, you know, a 3-day weekend. So my sister, she had to get back early for work, and we were there for one extra day. And for some reason, I don't know how I was in the lobby first, but I was asking the front desk what there is to do, because we spent 3 days in Nashville. So we did all the obvious stuff.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Jack Daniels is not that far away. I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, it's like an hour, 15 minutes away from here. So my parents got to the lobby, and I said, I know what we're doing today. And we went to Jack. And this is got to be 8-9 years before I ever worked for Jack. So I was already a huge fan, as I mentioned. So we got there, and it was great. We took a tour and, you know, bought everything that you could possibly buy with the Jack Daniels logo. And, you know, it's kind of fun going back years later.
The White Rabbit store, probably.
Yes, there was no White Rabbit store yet, but there was obviously the, you know, the hardware store in the town square. So
yeah. I think the very first time I went there, they had you couldn't buy anything at all. Like I forgot the year I first went, but you couldn't buy anything at all in Lynchburg.
No.
So like even the collector bottles, now I know you could do, they have the White Rabbit where you could buy different bottles and have them engraved right there, which is amazing. But yeah, well, I remember when I first went there, because it just blew my mind that Lynchburg was a dry county, because I did not know.
Yeah.
And they said there was not enough residents to vote for it to not be a dry county anymore. Or something like they said. I'm like, that is insane.
I'm not exactly sure of. I think part of it too, you know, remember it. No one really lives there that's visiting. So
exactly,
everybody's driving in. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that there's no bars in town. But you know, you can buy specialty bottles, and you know, there's a winery, a Lynchburg winery, and they can sell the wine they make. There's like a weird loophole. If you make your own wine, you can sell it. And that's kind of how we got the White Rabbit, because we make our own whiskey. So why can't we sell that?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then it'd be cool, like, if there's something in the square where you could go and like have a drink or whatever in the square. But I mean, there's so much to do like in Lynchburg. It's amazing, because I mean, you got a really good barbecue place. You got was it Mary Bobo's you could have lunch at or dinner at. It's a lot of cool places, and there's a lot of cool little Airbnbs. I know for a while they had a couple like barrel houses on like Airbnb where you could stay in Lynchburg. I'm like, this is like the coolest thing. And I know Kevin Sanders lost one last year, and we're actually doing a fundraiser in the church choir right now to try to raise some money to help Kevin rebuild. So and try to get him. I know that was his beloved barrel house. So we're definitely want to try to help him out. I know my buddy Will Long, who's going to be on the after show with me a little later, he's running that over there with our buddy Scott. And it's kind of cool to see how everybody comes together in times where someone that loses something so close to them, because Kevin loved those houses. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see them coming back together and rebuilding it. But why do you think, like with all that, why do you think Lynchburg feels such like a warm feeling, like home for so many people that don't live there?
You know, honestly, I think it really goes back to Jack. You have to remember, you know, when Jack made whiskey in Lynchburg, yes, he was successful, but not like it's successful today. I mean, he was definitely the man around town, and he was really generous. You know, he was a really open-hearted guy that helped out not only his family and friends, but he helped out strangers. You know, if you went to Uncle Jack and you're having a bad year, your crops didn't grow well, and you might lose your farm, you went to Jack and he would bail you out, knowing that he probably would never get that money back. You know, he was just a good guy. He took care of everyone. And I think when you're the you know, the figurehead of a town, and that's how you treat people, everyone else starts treating people like that. And it just becomes the way of that town. And it's true, when you go to Lynchburg and you meet anyone, they're good people and they welcome you and they help you. And, you know, it's not like coming here or going to New York where, you know, you have to navigate around and find your way a little bit on your own.
Or Chicago, have to throw a bulletproof vest on real quick or something.
Yeah, it's not like that there, man. It definitely is. And you know, if you go to Miss Mary Bobo's, they still do meals like she did it when she ran the place. You know, there's no menu. It's like a family dinner. You just show up, and whatever's on the menu that day is what you eat that day.
I was gonna say it isn't kind of. I haven't eaten there yet, but isn't it like really communal too? Or I mean, it was. I don't know how it will be now, but where you kind of like it was like one big bowl of mashed potatoes. You just passed it around like family style, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how things will change with everything going on in the world, but
right.
It's definitely. I think overall, do you think? I mean, not to sidetrack too far. Do you think what's going on with the whole virus? Do you think it will change the bar game down the road, like in general?
Look, it's changing it now, and I think ultimately when hopefully we have a vaccine and we can put the actual virus behind us, I do think steps will be in place to make sure that everyone's as safe as possible. Even now, I think paper menus might go by the wayside, and it might all be QR codes.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think little stuff like that, any touch points that can be avoided, I think people are going to want to avoid moving forward. I think it's exposed a lot of areas where, look, there is a lot of argument to, like if you're perfectly clean and your body's perfectly clean, you can't fight things because you don't have enough, your body's not building up antibodies naturally.
Exactly.
But I think there's a point where we don't need to, maybe have all the touch points we have today. And this could expose some of that for all of us.
I agree. I mean, we carry around one of the biggest computers we can in our pockets. I mean, 90% of us. And I really think it'd be easier to accommodate the ones that don't have a cell phone compared to the ones that do. I mean, because if you walk in, I mean, my work where I work now is kind of going a lot more cell phone-ish. So you walk in, and it's QR code, like you said. I mean, QR code to get our menu, QR to join our loyalty program. And I mean, and something like that would be cool. Like if bars had apps. I mean, where you're sitting at your table and you just do everything right from an app, and then they bring you your drink or whatever. I mean, stuff like that could be amazing down the road. And you just pay right on your phone, and I think money is going to eventually just disappear.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's one of the dirtiest things out there, right?
Yeah.
So, metaphorically and really, but I don't think we're that far away from paper money being a thing of the past.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember even when I stopped bartending, we used to every day go to the bank and make change. And when I first went, it was crucial. You could not miss a day. We needed those singles and fives and tens.
Yep.
And towards the end, most of that money was just change for tips. Like there was very little cash. The nightly drop went from thousands of dollars to, under 1,000 sometimes.
Oh, exactly. At my work right now, we don't even take change anymore. So like if your total is like say 96.32 or whatever, they just say 96. So they round down. Right. So even if it was like 96, $80 or 80 cents, they still round down. So I'm like, eventually they're losing out on it, but they don't really, no, we lost them. Hang tight, guys. We'll go ahead and get Eric back on. I don't know what happened. I'm sure he'll jump right back on. It's been a good talk so far. We got a little off topic, but we'll get it back on once we get him back in. Let me see. Yeah, hang tight. We'll get him back on. I don't know if his laptop died or anything. We did have a little bit of trouble earlier when he first logged on. He was black and white and looked like a strobe light. He was on one of his surfaces, and I don't know why. A couple weeks ago when we had Mary on, I know she had a Google Pixel phone, and her phone was going in and out for some reason. That's why we had the original Echo. And all right, here we go. Let's see. Looks like he's ready. All right. Hey, how you doing, man?
We're back.
Can you hear me now?
I'm good. Are we back? We're doing this?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Let me see. Am I muted?
Nope. Wait. Okay, there we go. Yep.
You got me?
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. It just like dropped out or something. I'm like, I was talking and whoop.
Yeah, I don't know.
I could definitely. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just saying I don't know what happened either. Just
weird. It's like it just dropped right out. I was like, oh, but I could definitely see paper money going away and everything becoming more digital currency and whatnot. I want you to tell me about. I know we kind of touched on a little bit about LA and where you first got started with Jack Daniels, but tell me a little bit about Jones. I was hearing you talk a lot about Jones Hollywood Restaurant and Bar, and it sounds like a really interesting place, man.
Yeah, it's for LA, it's an anomaly. It's celebrated 25 years last year, which is really rare for the city.
Yeah.
And it's an odd, I don't want to say odd, but it's an Italian American restaurant, yet you get a fortune cookie at the end of your meal, the wall of Jack Daniels above the bar. And when the owner built it, I really think from what I heard, he took a few iconic places in LA that he grew up with, and
Mhm.
kind of elements of them. There's a old school Italian restaurant called Dan Tana's. I think that's where the red and white checkered tablecloths come from.
Nice.
There's a place called Musso and Frank's. It's a 100-year-old steakhouse, and they're really famous for the martinis, and they put a little extra in the sidecar. So like they'll pour it in your glass, and then you have like a carafe in ice, so it just stays cold without getting watered down. And when I first got to Jones, we had a version of that. Now we have a different version of that. And then the rainbow, and I think that's where the Jack comes in, that kind of rock and roll tie-in. So
Yeah.
Jones kind of has a little bit of all that. And it's chill, man. It's a place where you'll get, 24-year-old young adults, you'll get, people my parents' age, you'll get young actors, working actors, all that kind of stuff. So but it's there's no paparazzi, there's no ropes. It's a very chill kind of spot. And look,
nobody tip off who's there and who's wait outside and, hey, I'll pay me later or something.
No, it's all very frowned upon, that kind of stuff, and it's
awesome.
I mean, for me, Jones is like, I met my wife there. I started my business there. I got my job at Jack there. I mean, when you talk about the greatest job ever, it really was. And I met so many friends.
That was your heart right there, pretty much.
Co-workers, man, and regulars. Like, there's a guy I met, talking about music, there's a guy who used to come in every Friday night, and he would order a Jack Manhattan and sit by himself wearing a black suit, have a drink, and leave. And this went on for months. And after a while, I'm like, I got to find out what this guy's deal is. So, I just start bullshitting with him. And it turns out he's a physicist by day. And at night on the weekends, he plays bass for a blues band in South Central LA.
Oh, that's cool.
White guy in the band, but he's like, a legit musician, and got himself in this band, and he would play, and we would go visit and see the band on our nights off, and we became really good friends. That guy he came to my wedding.
Oh,
what I mean?
man.
So it's just one of those places that just brings people together and brings it, like you're talking about Lynchburg, how familiar communal that is. Jones is kind of like that for LA. It's a bar where other bartenders come. It's a bar where so many people I've talked to are like, oh my God, the first bar I ever went to in LA was Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I heard you talk about it before. I'm like, it just sounded like this place that was really near and dear to you. I'm like, oh, I definitely got to bring that up because, and just looking at the place and the photos, I was like, this is amazing. So tell me about the Jack Wall. Like, how did that come about there? Did they just start just saving bottles or?
No. I think when it opened, like I said, I think the owner wanted to give a little nod to the Rainbow Bar and Grill. And that's such a rock and roll bar. Like Jack was a way of expressing rock and roll. And if you see that picture on your screen, there's 144 bottles of Jack behind these little cages, and they're locked. And I remember working one night, it was packed Saturday night, and the door guy comes up to me like, hey, someone just told me that someone stole a bottle. I'm like, you can't steal a bottle, they're locked. And I went and looked, and one of the little padlocks had been taken off, and someone pulled back the little door and reached in while we're working. It's right in front of us, and took a bottle. And then we closed all the exits and patted people down. We could not find that bottle. And so now there's only 143 drinks. So I created a cocktail called the number 143, and that's still on the menu today. A Jack drink.
Man. Because there's originally 140. That's crazy. I wonder if that bottle will ever show up. Because it's probably an older bottle too. Because are they all older bottles, or so they're all full, right?
They were all. Jones opened in '94, so they were all older.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I go into a lot of older buildings, and I was in, I don't know where I was, somewhere in Ohio last November, I think it was, and I found like a 1940s like old Jack Daniels bottle, and I just freaked out. I'm like, told this guy, I'm like, I'll give you $50 for it right now. It sells for like 20 on eBay, but I was like, just wanted to have it for I have a Jack Daniels bar. I'm like, it's just really cool, like old like decanter or whatever. And I'm like, this is really neat to have. Well, so you actually sold it to me too, so I was surprised.
That's very cool. Today is a day for old things, right? You got Ringo Starr turned 80.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then the famous, I don't know if you know Ted Kellman from Atlantic City. He also turned 80 today.
Oh wow, no, yeah, 77, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
I knew it was a big Jack day. I forgot it was Squire Day at first. I thought that's what they were calling it. So Definitely a cool thing. So let's see. Go ahead. I know we're kind of bouncing back and forth. I want you to talk about, I was reading or hearing about a drink you created. Well, not you really didn't create it, but called the Surfer on Acid. I want you to tell me about how that came about, because it was really neat how you were telling how the story was.
So I did create that drink. The name I stole.
Yeah, okay. That's what it was
then. So back in the early 90s when I first started bartending, Jaeger was becoming popular, and my taste, my palate really wasn't ready for that profile.
Yeah.
But people were doing shots of it, and it became like a thing. And at the time, this is pre fancy cocktails that we have now. So at the time, every time I tried to make a drink, my go-to to make anything taste good was Malibu and pineapple. Coconut over pineapple, because I have an old family soft spot for pina coladas. So that was like my way to make things taste like that. And I said to myself, I wonder if Malibu and pineapple would work with Jaeger. So I mixed it up, and it tasted pretty good. It definitely, to me at the time, tasted better than drinking straight Jaeger. And it started just being a shot we did at the bar. Yeah. And I think I made some really stupid name at the time, like ET's Awesome Shot. And, the staff was drinking it. I was drinking it. We'd go to other bars every once in a while and drink it. And one night, a couple kids came in, like 21, 22 years old. It must have been like 8 or 9 guys. And they ordered 8 or 9 Surfer on Acids. And I was like, what's that? And they start to tell me. And it was, Bailey's and, I don't know, Kahlua and cream and banana liqueurs, all these crazy ingredients. And I made it. And I was like, what bar makes this awful drink? And the kid was like, oh, he goes, no. He goes, last night we were at my dad's house, and we undid his liquor cabinet and we made up this drink. And I'm like, and you walked into a bar a day later and ordered it like I was going to know what it was? And he like laughed and high-fived and walked away. And I was like, well, that drink is going nowhere, but it's a pretty good name. So I took the name and put it on my drink. And a few years later, it started popping up everywhere. And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe this is 91, maybe 92. It wasn't until like 2001, 2002 that I realized what had happened. And I was judging a contest for a liqueur called Harlem. And it was very much a Jaeger-like product. Yeah. And I was there, and this guy comes up to me. He's like, hey, are you the Surfer on Acid guy? And I'm like, yeah. And like, I was the Jaeger rep in LA in the late 80s and early 90s. And we heard some bar had a shot with Jaeger that wasn't just Jaeger. And when the owner of Jaeger came to visit LA from New York, they, I guess, got him one, and they started pushing it as a shot. Like Jaeger started using it as one of their go-to drinks. So that's how it got everywhere.
That is awesome. Yeah, I know one of my very first trips with Jaeger down that road was liquid cocaine someone gave me once. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was like Rumpelmans, Goldschlager, Jaeger, and Red Bull or something. I'm like, dude, I'm done with Jaeger. I didn't even start on it. Like I was the same way. This is the taste of it.
It's funny now I like it more than I ever did, but back then my palate was definitely not in that spectrum.
Yeah, when it first came out, it was weird because everybody was like, "Oh, it's deer's blood," and all this other stuff. That's what everyone was saying when it first came out. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
So I had a buddy that used to love Jaeger, and it's all he would drink. I think that's probably why I got a little sick of it after a while. I'm like, "Yeah, that and Red Stag by Jim Beam. Those are my two that were my." I'm like, I can't do those no more. I'm good.
It happens. It happens to all of us with something.
Oh, I hear you. So go ahead. Let's see. No, we're gonna skip that. Most people that are probably watching my show.
Wait, you're gonna hear the story where John Lennon kissed my mother? You didn't want to hear that?
Well, I was gonna have you tell the story about Jack Daniels, but I'm thinking most of the people probably watch and know that story already, or have heard it, like kind of how it came about and how Jack got it. But instead of doing that, I kind of want to definitely dig into for a little bit of time now about Dirty Sue and like kind of like where it came about, because just hearing about it sounds like a really cool product that is changing the game for bartenders all around. And I just want you to dig into it, man, and tell us all about it.
Yeah. So Dirty Sue started out as, bottling premium olive juice for dirty martinis, which did not exist, 15 years ago. And I was working at that same bar at Jones, and I was by myself. It must have been a Monday or Tuesday, because it was the only nights I worked without a bar back, without another bartender. And typically, busy, but not crazy. And then we got hit with 30 or 40 people came from an event and just showed up. And so I'm trying to get all these drinks made, and someone ordered a dirty martini. Now at the time, we had the gallon jar of olives that sits behind the bar.
Yeah.
And we would pour that juice either into a squeeze bottle, and then in the tray of olives, you'd pour, a little bit of juice over the olives to keep them from going bad. So I went to the squeeze bottle and it was empty. I went to the tray of olives, which back in the day, we would put our hand over the tray and then keep the olives from falling out and pouring the juice. So
literally maybe changing in the bar industry.
Yeah. But, and then I went to the jar, and the jar had half full of olives and no juice. So I had to leave the bar packed, run to the storeroom, get a new jar, fight it open, pour some juice out, and make the drink. And it took 10 minutes to make a drink that literally should have taken 45 seconds. And I remember looking at a buddy of mine. I'm like, how has no one bottled olive juice? And then that light bulb went off. I'm like, oh my God, nobody bottles olive juice. So the next day I just started researching it. And it took me a really long time to find a farm in the US that grew enough olives and or imported enough olives to fulfill the needs I was going to have. And the very last call I made was a farm in California, family-owned farm.
Oh, wow.
And drove up there and worked with them, developing the recipe, and eventually got it in a bottle, and just started selling it locally in California. And over the years, it's now grown. We're on the menu at some national chains and liquor stores, bars, and tons of home consumers. So it's been real. And now we have olives, onions. I just launched Dirty Sue whiskey cherries. So it's cherries grown in the Pacific Northwest that are rested in cherry juice, currant juice, and then Tennessee and Kentucky whiskeys.
Oh man, there's a bar in Michigan called the Machine Shop, Flint, Michigan. They have bourbon cherries there. I don't recommend them. I mean, they're good, but man, it's a long night.
This isn't a cherry you're going to get drunk from. It just has a little bit of the flavor from the whiskey.
For sure. That is so neat, though. I mean, especially the onions too. I mean, it just sounds like something really neat. Like digging into it. I could see the olive juice, and then when I started hearing that you had more of the products, I was like, oh, I started digging into them and looking at all of them. Tell me about this logo too. I know I heard you briefly talking about it, but I want you to tell about how you came up with the Dirty Sue name and everything all together.
Yeah, basically, when coming up with the idea for the name, I wanted dirty in the name to link to a dirty martini. And I wanted it to be, something dirty something, and be catchy. And my goal was, one day people kind of like Kleenex, you just say, can I get a Kleenex? Not saying tissue, right? Yeah. So whatever the name was, I wanted to substitute for ordering a dirty martini. And I have a beach cruiser that, at the time was sitting behind my couch in the living room. So this is definitely pre-marriage. And, on the frame of the bike, there's a pinup girl, and it looks like the nose of a World War II plane. Mm-hmm. The bike is called the Flying Sue. And I was like, Flying Sue? I'm like, Dirty Sue. That really had a cool ring. And I like the idea of classic Americana, pinup girl, that whole era. So it wouldn't seem like a trendy product. It would seem, because dirty martinis have been around that long. So I wanted it to really be rooted in history, not just hot new product. I wanted it to feel like it should have always been there. And I had someone draw that girl on the olive, and instead of sitting on the end of a plane.
Oh, that looks awesome. I mean, it's cool because the olive is the olive green and everything else. So it almost looks like the old World War pinup girls. It's so cool. I was just interested with all of that, and the whole product in general. Because when you first started off, you really didn't kind of you outgrew a couple of you outsourced a lot. I heard you talk about once. You kind of kept outgrowing. And when you started, you were real grassroots with it. And go ahead and talk a little bit kind of how you really got up and going with the brand.
Yeah, it wasn't outgrowing the the people making the farm that I was working with, they had a good supply. It was the system I was using to get it out to the world.
Yeah.
And mostly online. I use distributors to sell to bars and restaurants, but I was fulfilling all the orders online by myself out of my apartment. So, and it was crazy. And in the beginning, it wasn't that big of a deal, but eventually, I needed foam and cardboard and different things and packing materials and
You only get so much from Uline.
right. Well, I actually called. There's a liquor store in the Inland Empire out here in California, and they were the first liquor store to carry Dirty Sue, and they had a really bustling online wine sales business. So I called them, and I was like, "Hey, how do you pack stuff to mail?" And they kind of walked me through it, and they gave me a company that they had used previously to get the material from. So I was doing it out of my apartment, and then one Christmas season, holiday season, I was so busy that I was literally filling a UPS truck a day out of my apartment. So pallets delivered, packing them and shipping them out. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. So the people that were selling me the foam and cardboard and all that stuff, the delivery driver was telling me, like, hey man, we're slow a lot of the time. Like we get swamped and then we might have hours to kill. Like, if you need help, let me know. And I kind of remembered that. I'm like, hey, would you guys want to start fulfilling orders? So I was able to store more product and do all of that. And then I started outgrowing what they could do. And luckily there was a company that was buying product and selling it. And we just started talking. They were growing and I was growing, and now they've just been killing it for me. They've really expanded my online presence crazy because they can store all of my products. They have all the machines. They've bought new machines. So we've kind of grown together in that world.
Now, where's your hot seller? Is it your website? I know you're on Amazon too, but where can people find you, like, quick and easy if they want to find this product?
Look, dirtysue.com is easy, but Amazon for a lot of people is easier because you're not always just buying one thing. So everything you can find on my website, you can find on Amazon. Prices are the same. So it's and it all ships from the same location. So it really doesn't matter where you buy it. It's the same product, same company.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I mean, it's taken over, especially during all this. I don't think I've gone into a store yet in the last 3 months.
Yeah, Amazon's it's becoming the only thing right now.
The go-to. I mean, when they start delivering by drone, I think it's all over by then.
Right.
Same day stuff. Well, you already get same day stuff. So, but so yeah, you were the very first person to ever bottle premium olive juice for dirty martinis, which is just amazing, and just to get it up and going. And I know, like, you really kind of paid attention to who was buying and who was really digging into your brand. I know I heard a story where you heard either you went to a bar and someone told you that they were serving at a bar, and then you went back and actually called the guy the next day, or called the bartender.
It was at Jones, and a couple came in, and I forget what the guy was drinking, but the woman ordered a dirty martini, and I made it. And normal points of service, I just went back to check on them and asked them how their drinks were. And she said, this is probably one of, if not the best dirty martini I ever had. So I'm like, oh, that's great. And I wouldn't always then, I invented the product, I wasn't that crazy. So I would just hold up the bottle of Dirty Sue and say, oh, this is our secret ingredient, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, that's so funny. I'm like, why? And she said that she was at a bar 2 weeks prior and mentioned to the bartender how much she liked her dirty martini. And he did the same thing. He picked up the bottle and showed it to her. And this is really early on. So I assumed whoever that bartender was a friend of mine. I couldn't imagine I didn't know that person. So I said, do you remember what bar you were at? And she goes, I even remember the bartender's name. And the bar was in Northridge. And not only did I not know the bar or the bartender, I had never been to Northridge. So she told me the bar's name, the bartender's name. And the next day I called the guy and I said, oh, look at that picture of me and my wife at Robert Plant. And I said, hey, it's E.T. from Dirty Sue. And he was he was like, oh wow, like thought, like the president of Bacardi was calling or something. It was really odd. Like, I don't know how big he thought this company was. And I was like, yeah, I had a customer at the bar last night, and she mentioned that you were, not only using my olive juice, but proud to show it. And I just want to thank you. And, I sent a care pack, like a t-shirt and a hat and some other stuff. And
Yeah.
that guy, for the next like 4 or 5 years, every job he went to, he would call me and say, hey, I'm now working here, and this bar now carries Dirty Sue. So it's just like a really, the bar community has been very good to me, coming from that. There's that, I bartended for so long, we have kind of a bond, but to be embraced by that world has really been a nice thing to happen to a brand like me that, I was basically paying for it out of tips for the first year or two before I took on investors. So to have the kind of rally behind the brand was really special. And then just to see it from a stranger, not just friends, it's like a complete stranger. And I really think bartenders got it because they knew how bad the system was before Dirty Sue to make a dirty martini. So for them, I remember going on the very early sales calls before anyone knew what bottle of olive juice was. And I would get managers and owners, and if they never bartended, they would always push back, right? Why would I buy what I get for free in the jar? And, my response was, you get it for free, so how good could it possibly be? And, they would push back. I'm like, you know what? Here's a bottle. Let your bartenders use it over the weekend. And Monday morning, if they didn't like it, don't call me.
That's awesome.
And literally 9 out of 10 times, I would either get a call that they ordered because forgetting it was a better quality, forgetting it was cost effective, forgetting it was a cleaner way to make a drink, for a bartender, it was convenient. That goes a really long way.
Now, didn't you have early on, didn't you have an investor too that you kind of just turned down and then you went back to and you kind of moved on to another project, or?
Yeah, man, that was a bummer.
Did you ever kick yourself in the butt for that, or do you think that was kind of like one of those lessons learned, like type thing? Like, do you think things would be different?
I don't know. I really don't. He was an actor, still is an actor, and a regular at the bar at Jones, and we were pretty friendly. And as soon as I started the company, he heard about it. He's like, hey, I'll write you a check tomorrow. I want to help. I think it's a great idea. And, I didn't know any better. And I really thought, hey, I get an order, I make the order, I sell the order, I make money. Like, why would I ever need more money? Right. And, all of a sudden, I realized trade shows and swag and samples and, whatever you got to do to start a business, websites, taxes, all this stuff. I'm like, this paying out of my tips is not going to work for much longer. And when I went back to him, he had just moved and bought a beach house in like Montecito, and he's like, my account was like, do not spend any money for a while. So I was like, sorry. I'm like, damn. So
I mean, it was good though, but it made you almost kind of make you work a little harder, and you probably learned a lot more. I mean, because that would have been a little easier to go with an investor, but you still stayed independent, right? Through that. And
yeah, for a while. And then I ultimately had to get investors. I could not grow the business without money. And so I took on, I didn't take a ton of money only because no one had been done this before. So it wasn't proven, right? If I was starting, a car company, I would know I needed a ton of money, and it's proven this is how you do car businesses. There's a model for it. There really was no model for this. So I was worried to lose friends and money and get investors. So it took a minute to get really going because I didn't have a ton of money, but eventually, everything kind of took off. And I think also the whole cocktail movement helped me because people were looking for better products, and cocktails were getting better and products were getting better. And then people discovered Dirty Sue, which had been there, but maybe not on their radar. And now they were kind of getting involved.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, especially like how you said, I mean, bars were like, they were getting it for free. I mean, so why would they want to pay for a premium product that they could just get with their olives that they have been getting for years? So convincing. I mean, I love how you were talking about, you drop a bottle off and say, hey, if they like it, call me Monday. If not, it's water under the bridge, whatever. So, I mean, that's kind of a cool way to really kind of get your name out there and just start pushing it, because then people will start asking like, hey, where are you using that drink? And like you said, you run into people and tell you about other bars in place.
Well, that's for something like that that's new. And also, if you believe in what you're selling, right, you just say, here, try it. Like, I didn't have any worry that A, it wasn't a better way to do it, and B, a better product. So for me, I had no problem dropping off bottles and trusting in the fact that people were going to dig it.
That's for sure, man. So before we kind of move on to our last segment and close out the show, I do want to talk to you about going back to Jack Daniels more about music and Jack Daniels. And why do you think, I mean, other than the alcohol factor, but why do you think it's been so prominent for years, and even to the point where they've gone to billboards and bottles of Jack Daniels to say, I'm with the band since whatever year and things like that. So what do you think has made Jack such a big staple in the music community?
Look, again, I think it goes back to Jack. Jack himself was a big music lover. And, you know, he personally wasn't, guitar player or anything like that, but he loved music so much. And there was a local band in Lynchburg that needed instruments. And out of the back of Sears and Roebuck, he supplied them with all their instruments, and they would play in the town square outside of his bars. He owned 2 bars back in the day, the White Rabbit, which is the name of our bottle shop now, and the Red Dog Saloon. And Jack owned both of them, and the band would play. And Jack also, in his house, he had a ballroom, and in his ballroom was a piano. And when he had events, there was a girl that played piano, and she would come, and he would hire her to come play for his partygoers. So Jack loved music, so it connected to him. And then, flash forward to Sinatra. He discovered Jack when Jack was still kind of a small brand. Jackie Gleason kind of turned him on to it, and Sinatra, basically, as soon as it touched his lips, he was really never seen without Jack. And he went on stage in the mid-50s, held up a glass of Jack Daniels and said, "This is the nectar of the gods." And Sinatra said that, and people wanted to know what this Jack Daniels stuff was. And in a couple years, the demand for Jack was so high that it went on allocation for almost 20 years. Wow. Jack Daniels was so hard to find, it was allocated. And, after Sinatra, he influenced so many people and so many musicians. I think when other musicians reached for something, Jack was probably in their head. And you got Zeppelin, the Stones, Tom Petty, Clash, and now, in the era now of music, obviously, one of your favorites, he reaches.
I mean, it's huge. I mean, he has his own bottles coming out soon. So
right. So
I have pictures of these. Yeah, his own line of Jack bottles. I mean, and now Jack sponsors so many people, like bands. Like I know they sponsor Zach Brown and Kip Moore, and one of my buddies that was on the show, his name's Skylar Anderson. He's sponsored by Jack Daniels. So it's really cool just to see how Jack being so close, for one, Lynchburg being so close to Nashville, but how it's so prominent it is in the music community. And just the brand. I mean, not even the promotion of alcohol and everything else. It's the brand of Jack Daniels. You see the T-shirts, you see tattoos, you see songs titled Jack Daniels.
I always say this. There's Jack Daniels, the whiskey, and then there's the life that Jack Daniels lives beyond the bottle, right? So outside of the bottle, Jack has a whole other life. It has music. It has pop culture. It's an emblem for people. Our historian, Nelson Eddy, he always likes to say when screenwriters wanted to kind of talk about a certain type of character in a movie, instead of writing a paragraph about what kind of attitude this person had, he would just put a bottle of Jack there. He or her would put a bottle of Jack in their hand, and you knew what kind of person that was. Jack Daniels said something. It's not just, fortunately, it is a great whiskey, but besides that, it has so much else out in the world. Anywhere you go in the world, there's Jack Daniels. And you're talking about T-shirts. They're not even Jack Daniels T-shirts sometimes. You've seen bands take our logo and put their name in our logo. Or
I got a poster back here. It was an Eric Church poster back here on the wall, and it literally is like the layout, the Jack Daniels bottle layout, but with all the words changed.
Right
on it. So but with all the lines or whatever they call that.
Filigree. But we have a dog toy. It's a Jack Daniels bottle, like a squeak toy, and it's everywhere. So it's there are very few brands that become a lifestyle versus just what the actual brand is. And fortunately for me, back in the day when I discovered Jack, it was all that you're talking about. And that's what got me to the bottle of Jack Daniels. But, I still dig it after all these years. Like, I worked in bars for so long. You can drink whatever you want. You sample everything. And Jack was always my thing for so many reasons. First and foremost, the whiskey.
What was your go-to drink? Your Jack go-to? Was it like Gentleman Jack, or what? If you had a choice, what was it?
I mean,
or you're not allowed to say.
No. Look, I would say 90% of my life I drink Old Number 7. Okay. I'm drinking right now. It's as delicious as it always was to me. Now we make tons of great whiskey. Single barrel I love sipping on. The Sinatra Select. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't pull unlimited samples, and it's not the cheapest one of our whiskeys. So,
someone in the chat's asking, "What's your suggestion for enjoying single barrel?"
Good question. Me personally, I like one big rock and some single barrel. Also, an old fashioned is great for single barrel because it's you don't want to really dilute that whiskey too much, but a little bit of citrus. Tiny bit of sugar, some bitters. I don't know if you've seen them yet, but we have Jack Daniel's cocktail bitters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think I'm doing it. Yeah, it's have one laying here. Okay. So these were made specifically to pair well with the flavors of Jack Daniel's. So, I have a buddy. He has a drink called the Kansas City Shuffle. This guy Dalton. He just takes Jack rye, single barrel rye, and a couple dashes of the bitters, and that's his drink.
Oh wow.
So for single barrel, I have to keep it simple. Yes, it mixes well, but because it's a high proof whiskey, it's aged really long. It's got such flavor. I just like to put an ice cube on it.
Oh yeah, my wife bought me these Whiskey Rocks ones, and they were pretty good, but they just never stayed that cold. I mean, for the first month, they were okay, but after that, they just never got real good. I was like, "That's a good idea," but I like the single ice cube, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the Whiskey Rocks was a great idea, but it just never really worked.
Well, the issue with them too is, and I agree, it's a really cool idea. I like a little bit of dilution, right? Yeah. You put a big ice cube in there and it starts to sweat a little bit. Yeah. It kind of opens up other flavors in the whiskey you might not find when it's neat.
I had a friend, she always told me, like, at the end of the night, I always saw her switch this one drink. And she goes, "Well, I don't have that bad of a hangover when I drink this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She drank Crown Royal and water. And I'm like, huh? So one time I was at a bar and I was like, oh, whatever, I'm going to try this. I got Jack and water, and it wasn't bad. And the next day I felt amazing. I was like, okay, this actually might work. Cause I was just drinking water with my Jack. And I kind of now that you say how you like a little bit of dilution, I mean, it wasn't bad. I was only putting a little bit of water in there, not much, but it was just enough where I could just drink it with just ice, and I was good to go.
Yeah. I mean, look, anytime you drinking water helps, whether it's in the drink or, I always use a 1-to-1 rule. Have a drink, have a glass of water. And that way you're there for the whole party, not just the beginning.
Yeah, you're enjoying it, and now you're making it to the main act and not just seeing the openers.
Exactly.
So, all right, every week we have this little game I play with all of our guests. I ask 9 questions. We see how far or how fast you can get through them. We never ever really make through them all until after the time's over, but we'll see how far you can get through them. Let's see. Oh, that's not my song things. All right. So the first one, your dream music crossroads. 2 artists, 2 different genres. If you could put them together, who would it be?
Robert Plant and Johnny Cash.
Oh, dude, that's good. Your favorite getaway location?
Anywhere with the beach.
I like that one. Your first cassette tape you ever owned?
License to Ill, the Beastie Boys.
Nice. That is a good one. If you could drink Jack with anyone living or dead, who would it be? In the music world, who would it be?
I'm guessing as much as I worship the ground Robert Plant walks on, I'm going to have to go with Sinatra on that one.
Just to pick his brain.
Just to be there.
Pet peeve.
What's that?
What's your biggest pet peeve? Or should we ask your wife that question?
Look, man, so many. I just feel like in the world, especially the world we are now, I just don't. My biggest pet peeve is when people just aren't nice people. Just nice, be kind, be loving. We're here too short of a time to be this angry about so many things. Just be nice.
No, I agree. There's so much going on in the world right now, and it's like if we all just, one love, pretty much. Everybody just needs to be on the same page, and we're all in life together. So why fight one another?
By the way, quick aside, that picture of my wife and I on our wedding day in New Orleans, which if there's not a beach, that's where I want to be. That picture was not taken by our photographer. We did the parade through the streets in New Orleans, the second line.
Oh, nice.
And a month or two after our wedding, a friend of my wife was surfing the internet and came across a blog, and the woman was like a foodie writing about all the places she eats. And she's like, oh, I was in New Orleans, I ate this. And then I came across a wedding in the street, and it was our picture.
Oh, man, that is awesome. That's a cool picture, though. Yeah, I normally just scour and look for pictures. And I came across that one. I really love that picture.
Yeah.
That's a cool story, though, man. That's really cool. So, yeah, of course, we ran out of time, but I'll go ahead and ask this of the last few ones. If you're on an island, you go and take one bottle of liquor and one album with you. What one bottle and what album are you taking? Old number 7.
Physical Graffiti, Led Zeppelin.
Oh, nice. That'd be a good one. Your favorite Halloween costume you ever wore?
Probably Dracula. I really dug me Dracula.
I was always the Crow every year. I was always Eric Draven from the Crow.
Not far off, right? Not far off.
Yeah, right. What's the one alcohol you can't drink anymore?
Can't drink?
Yeah, do you have one where if you're at a bar and you have to pour a drink of it and you just smell it, you're like, nah, I can't do that.
No, there was a little period of my life where tequila wasn't my friend, but we've rekindled. We've rekindled in a big way.
That's my love was Red Stag. I loved it, and then I had one night where I'm like, yeah, no, we're done. Our relationship's over.
Right.
All right, and then the last one. What's one item that's still on your bucket list?
Still on my bucket list. There's just so many places I haven't seen, man. I want to go to Africa. I want to go to so many places around the world, and I hope we get there again where travel is easy and fun. And I just feel like, I have been to a lot of places, fortunately, but some of the biggies, I just haven't been there. And I think Africa is definitely one of the top. I just feel like that world is so different from anywhere else in the world that I'd love to see it.
I've been to Mexico and Canada. I'd love to get overseas, though, and just check out life over there. Hopefully one of these days. It's just...
We know everything's older than our country, so our country's not that old comparatively. And when you go to Europe, they've been doing things for so much longer, and their architecture that just like, New Orleans is like a good example of how a lot of Europe feels like. The French Quarter, minus slushy drinks and all that stuff, but the architecture and walking and the food and the culture, that's a lot of Europe. And we don't have a ton of that here.
No, and it's really nice. Especially, you go down to New Orleans, it's really nice to check all that kind of stuff out and see that. I've been down there a couple of times. So, well, ET, man, this has been a great chat. It's already past 9. I knew it was going to fly by with you tonight, but I really appreciate you coming in and spending 7-7 with me tonight, man, and talking a little Jack Daniels and a little music.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I will wish you the best of luck. I'm going to share all the links for Dirty Sue and for your Instagram and everything else with our show notes. So, is there anything else you want to plug where people could find you or contact you with Dirty Sue?
No, you put it out there. The only thing I would just say is, like I said a second ago, be nice to each other. We're all here together. We're all get through this together. Let's just do it the right way. And, happy 7-7. Thank you.
I'll cheers my water with you. I'm taking a break for this year, I think, from drinking. So,
it's a good time to do it.
Now you're starting to break up. This is perfect. We're in. So, all right, man. Well, thank you so much for spending the last hour with me, man. You take care and be safe out there, man.
All right, you too. Thank you so much.
Have a good one, buddy.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, guys. That was an amazing show. I had a blast with him. Once again, that was Eric Tecosky. I always mess up with the last names, but he's the U.S. brand ambassador for Jack Daniels And he's the founder for Dirty Sue Premium Olive Juice, premium bottled olive juice. I mean, that's just a cool story. How he just came about this. I mean, just bartending, boom. We're going to take a quick break for about 13 minutes. If you are in our Patreon and you are in the after show, you might want to come back at 9:15 or in like 12 minutes or so. We are going to be live on our Patreon page over on Facebook. You do have next 10-12 minutes. I will share the link again in the chat. If you want to jump on it, the $5 chat tier, it starts, our Patreon starts at just $1 and it goes all the way up to $50, which is currently sold out. It's our main sponsor. But for $5, you can get access to our monthly prizes and to our Patreon only group on Facebook where we have our after shows. And tonight we're gonna have a nice little fun chat with my buddy and who nominated me to be a squire, Mr. Will Long, and our buddy Chris is coming in too. And we're gonna have a little Squire Jack Daniels talk, just kind of talk about what the brand of Jack Daniels means to us, and just kind of hang out, catch up. I know I haven't talked to Chris or Will in a while, so it's gonna be really nice to chat with them. And we're gonna find out what Will's doing a little bit more with the raffle that he's doing over in one of the Eric Church Facebook groups, and giving away a very rare album. So if you guys are part of our Patreon group, come back in about 10-15 minutes. We will be back live over there. If not, I will see you guys next week with another amazing guest. Tune in, because it's not going to be one you want to miss. I promise you that. So I'll see you guys next week.
The Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver is brought to you by Arlo Revolution. As we close the book on another chapter, remember, music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Next week, Aaron connects more melodies and memories with other fans and the artists they love. Thanks for being a part of this musical journey, and we'll see you next time on the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver.